And welcome back, and we are now at part 4 of this week's New Comics, bitches! Ah! So let's kick it right off. Also, just as a real quick sidebar, I finally saw Super 8. I'm not going to do a whole big long review of it. Best movie I've seen all year. That is a fucking great movie. I haven't seen a lot, now, again, movie. I haven't seen a lot of great films this year, and I'm looking forward to. I'm hopefully going to see Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy this week, and eventually I'm going to see Girl with Dragon Tattoo. Those are more films, but Super 8 is a movie, and it's a great movie experience. It is absolutely stunning, and if you have the chance, see it. I'm going out to buy it this week. It's a fucking great movie. Anyway, so let's get into books of the week, shall we? Animal Man. Number 5 is certainly one of them. Where did I put it? It's here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so, I mean, this comic is just fucking blowing my mind, first of all. I mean, I never would have thought it would have been this good. Buddy and Maxine, they take down the last of the Hunters 3. That Buddy and Maxine didn't already take down while they were in the red. But that only, unfortunately, kickstarts the rot as it invades the red. I'm actually finding it, kind of hard to believe that this issue wasn't actually kind of a mature reader's comic, because there are some, like we also talked about earlier in Hellraiser from this week, is that, Jesus Christ, there's some really severe stuff going down in this particular issue. Some really graphic artwork and really, really intensely disturbing shit going on. And, it's definitely, this is a book that could easily make a transition from, like Swamp Thing, out of the New 52 and into a Vertigo-based line, and it almost seems that maybe that's where it's headed. But then you're dealing with maybe some sales issues. I have no idea, because I have no idea exactly how Vertigo stacks up to the New 52 as far as certain titles is concerned. But I'm sure this one will continue to be very successful, if not money-wise, certainly creative-wise, because Lemire and Travel Foreman are just doing an amazing job on this book. I mean, it's just terrific. Some really just horrifying, great horror book. I mean, just really taking this book and running with it. If you didn't see my Tumblr blog about my top 20 single issues of 2011, I talk about Animal Man #1 in there, and a lot of the reasons that I picked that issue is because you'll see it is also reflected in this issue. So of course here comes the big crossover that I've been waiting for, and that is our next book that we're going to talk about, which is Swamp Thing. I'm sorry, so it's 4.5 out of 5 for Animal Man #5, and we're also going to talk about Swamp Thing #5, which was a 5 out of 5. So Alec and Abby face down William as the Parliament of Trees is under attack by the rot. You see Alec really starting to connect with his power that comes from the grain, and he's also really connecting with Abby here. Some of the mystery of the skeletal woman that was in the very first issue, if I'm not mistaken, comes through, starts to be revealed here. Whether or not we'll see more of that, I hope we do. And as much as that I think that Snyder essentially is a god right now. He can do no wrong. There's not been an issue of his within the past several weeks that I haven't thought is, if not the pick of the week, is certainly damn close. And this is damn close to being pick of the week. But this is really Yannick Paquette's issue. the art that he does in this issue and the construction of these pages, it's really, to me, it's like it's very reminiscent of J.H. Williams. It's the creativity that he puts into the way that the page is laid out, the way that everything kind of twists and moves, and it assembles itself into almost as much of a, I hesitate to use these words because I think they're going to sound kind of hyperbolic, or they'll sound really pretentious, I guess is the best word that I can think of. But they're very organic in the way that they're laid out, and that to me is an absolute joy to see. So I mean, this is, again, we're upping the stakes even further with this issue. Dialogue, expression, narrative structure, artistic narrative, all of these marry together perfectly in this issue. And if there, this would be my second to pick of them. Well, like, there were 3 awesome comics that came out this week. I mean, 3 great issues of great comics, and we're going to talk about them as quickly as I can get to them. So again, 5 out of 5 for Swamp Thing number 5. A big surprise for me this week was Men of War number 5. Last couple issues took kind of a weird turn, and I wasn't really kind of getting there. But there's some fascinating stuff going on in this issue, particularly with the men from Rock's company, or his unit, if you will, facing down some metas. Some people that seem to be immortal. The people that have claimed to have fought against Napoleon and fought, a combat during the Civil War. Who are these people? Where are they from? What did they have against Rock Squad? What are they doing? What's going on here? And this is, the mystery surrounding this book has just become, in this issue, it's become more palpable. It's become more tangible. It's not necessarily easier to understand, per se, but it is becoming, I feel like I have more of a grasp on what's going on here, as opposed to things being more ambiguous. And, this is, we've got an announcement coming tomorrow about both Batman and Detective Comics. They're getting B stories, and the price is going up to $3.99. And that's fine for books that have these B stories. And the B story in this, and Rock is a badass, by the way. He's really becoming a super cool character in this issue. But the B story in this issue is excellent as well, because basically you have this, this kind of dual narrative structure about, it's just called Knife Fight, and that's what it's about. It's about these 2 opposing operatives having this really, really intense and very intimate knife fight. And it's, and like I said, the intensity and the intimacy of having a knife fight, as opposed to either 2 gunmen or whatever, it's really exceptional. It's a great B story, and I was thoroughly entertained all throughout this book. It was great comic work, and I hope that they can keep up this level of intensity for this particular book, because I think that's what's going to help it sell, and what's going to help keep it on the right road. So another surprise for me this week is my second favorite comic of this week, and that is Uncanny X-Men number 4. Again, so that was a 4.5 out of 5, by the way, for Men of War number 5. 5 out of 5 for Uncanny X-Men. It's a really great and very oddly touching issue. It's a one-off about the Phalanx. The Phalanx being this massive techno-organic virus that I first saw in Abnett and Lanning's run on Nova. And I'm missing the character of Nova right now as I think about it. as I usually do, and I'm really still kind of pissed that he's no longer a Secret Avenger, or I don't even know if Richard Rider's even still alive, but whatever. And I think, Miggs, I think that you actually said something about that. I'm hoping that you're watching this. I think you actually said something about that. So if you don't mind reminding me again, I certainly won't hold it against you. But it's really horrific what this being does in this comic. I mean, basically, I mean, he destroys an entire town and kills all of its inhabitants to try to get a signal to the other people of the other beings of the Phalanx. But he's noticing more and more, even as he engorges himself on everything that's out there, he is, and this also ties into Mr. Sinister and everything like that, and, some of the stuff that he did to kind of, this piece of the Phalanx that he had, he basically was keeping it a trophy. Again, of his kind of intellectual superiority, and his vanity. But here it is, it's, destroyed an entire town, killed all of its inhabitants. But in doing that, it's only increased its isolation, as opposed to enhancing it. Because that's what the Phalanx is. I mean, it's kind of like the Borg, I guess, if you're to compare it to another science fiction trope. The kind of, not hive mind per se, but, it's very dependent upon a sense of community, because it is a virus, after all. And what is a virus if it doesn't spread? And you do feel sympathy for it. When Kieran Gillen wrote this issue, I don't know if he expected this kind of emotional attachment that you get to this really terrifying thing. And that's what makes this particular issue so special, is that, this issue, I mean, it's a great issue of comics, whether it's, whether this was independent or, major, whether it's the X-Men or, the simplest indie comic that's out there. It's fantastic. And Brandon Peterson steps in for Carlos Pacheco in this issue and does a great job. I mean, the art in this is fantastic as well. So, I mean, it is just superb. I mean, the whole issue from beginning to end was just shockingly good. And which is not to discount the talents of the people involved. But it's just that the way that Uncanny X-Men has been going, it's been like, yeah, this has been pretty good. It's a good comic. It's got some really interesting tales to tell. But this one-off just really resonated, and I adore it. I absolutely love it. I think it's great, and I hope to see more stories at this level of emotional intensity as well as action intensity, because there is some really good action in this comic as well. But all in all, it's just a story about a very lonely being that's not maybe misunderstood, but certainly we don't know enough about it. And and there's some of that in this issue as well. So I mean, it's, again, great stuff, absolutely wonderful. If there hadn't been something better this week, this definitely would have been my pick of the week. But there was something better this week. And guess what? We're at 14 minutes right now, so we are going to go one more. And that one more is going to talk about our pick of the week. So stick around. We've just got a little bit further to go, so please stay tuned.